I think like most people, you get kind of bitten by the Bitcoin bug as an investment sort of thing. And then you realize that Web3 is more than Bitcoin, right? So that's what happened to me. So I was looking at Ethereum, found out the differences between Bitcoin and Ethereum as you do as a complete beginner. And then you look into things like Polkadot and just the interoperability of Polkadot, the permissionlessness, the governance, everything was just so far ahead of everything else that really got me into this. But at the time, the user experience was not very good. So I started making videos on YouTube to help the community understand how to use Polkadot.js, staking, crowd loans, all that kind of stuff. And I realized that the community really likes this kind of information and that it was needed. And that's kind of how I got involved in the ecosystem. I would say that Polkadot is three things. So it's the Polkadot SDK, which is Substrate. So you have the concept of I can make one thing, like this Lego block, and somebody else can be making a completely different chain or another Lego block, and you can work together and build something using palettes basically that other people have written. And all these chains can be like app specific. So you have like HydraDX is a DEX focused chain, right? A DeFi chain. But then you might have Interlay, which is a Bitcoin bridge chain. But then it makes sense that they should interact with each other. It shouldn't be siloed chains. So that's component one of the Polkadot ecosystem. Then you have right now the Relay chain, which is this central chain that provides a massive amount of economic security to all the connected chains, right? That's obviously a core part of Polkadot. That's what probably most people think of when they think of Polkadot. But then on top of that, you have this DAO, this governance system, right? Which is unlike anything else, because like I said before, every other chain does not have this governance system that allows every single participant, so every dot holder, you all three of these things. You're the constituent because you can vote with dot. So like if you're in your real world scenario, you can vote for who your like MP is in Parliament, right? But you're also the MP because you can propose legislation or referenda, right? And you're also the lobbyist because if it's anything like the UK Brexit referendum, people become the lobbyist pretty quick when it's everybody has to vote on something. And that's what happens in Polkadot. And you can lobby a lot, or you can propose a lot of legislation, or you can vote a lot. You can do all three at the same time. And it's OpenGov is the ultimate stakeholder governance model because there's no central power saying, oh, you can't do that. In every other ecosystem, there's some entity that can kind of control what changes are made. Whereas in Polkadot, you can propose anything you want. Like I myself, I could propose a runtime upgrade. I could propose treasury spends. I could propose literally anything on the network and nobody can stop me from proposing it. It's unlike anything else. And it's such a powerful like liquid democracy model that just doesn't exist anywhere else. I first read about Polkadot on New Year's Eve 2020, going into 2021, because the world was kind of shut down and there was nothing else to do, and I was kind of alone, just researching all this kind of stuff. And then, as most community people do, you find these like Twitter groups and Telegram groups and Discord groups full of community members who are just talking about this technology. And that's when I met people like Alice and Bob, Jay from the Kusama, and a bunch of other people, and we made ChaosDAO. So ChaosDAO was formed in July of 2021. It was made by Alice and Bob, who has just received money from the Decentralized Futures program from Web3 Foundation for governance. So it formed as a place for the community to actually have a place to talk about Polkadot and the tech and all the features without having like moon boy stuff on Twitter, like price action stuff, which nobody really wants to talk about. And from there, we just invited people that were passionate about the ecosystem, mainly from Twitter or Telegram groups and stuff like that. Then what happened, when Gavin Wood released the article about OpenGov, we were reviewing it and saw that as a massive opportunity for us to gain some voice in the ecosystem and collectively vote. So OpenGov has this feature called delegation, where I could assign my votes to you, and then when you vote, I vote alongside you automatically, right? So we saw that as a massive opportunity and started researching how to do this properly. There's a lot of like technical stuff with, if you have a multi-sig and change the signatory, the multi-sig address changes. So we figured out how to do it on-chain. And then we set up systems to allow our community to collectively vote. And what this allows is there's some community members that might be from lesser economically developed countries and might not have the same access to capital to be able to buy DOT, for example, right? Just because of where they're from, which is a sad scenario. But they are basically Polkadot ecosystem agents and spend a considerable amount of effort and time to help the community with like support issues or help write code or anything in between, right? Right now we've got 8 million DOT voting power. Like let's say 2 million of it is from the community and 6 million is from Web3 Foundation's Decentralized Voices program, which aims to just empower the community, right? And these people that might not be able to acquire a large amount of DOT now have quite a lot of say over the network, because if there's, for example, 100 people voting, well, they have a 1% stake in 8 million DOT. So now they feel empowered to actually review everything and participate and give their opinions and maybe even help people. Like, so it's such a powerful thing. And it's what we've been promoting since 2022, in November, I believe it was, is trying to get more communities to do this. We've been sharing the knowledge on how to set all this up. We have open source tools for people to be able to do this. And we just need passionate community members to actually form these groups and find some shared vision or some like a governance referendum that they're all passionate about, and they can all work together. If, for example, ChaosDAO just doesn't like a particular person and votes nay against them, well, these other 9 or 19 or 99 groups that don't have that personal bias will counteract ChaosDAO completely. And we need to empower, the community needs to be empowered, and the best way to do that is through collective decision making, because then everybody's voices can be heard simultaneously. And that's basically the philosophy of ChaosDAO, kind of. The entire manifesto is people collectively in a group can achieve way more. And I believe that the best decision can be made by a collective group of people, not an individual. So when you get decentralized voices, there's some extra stuff you have to do, right? You have to explain why you're voting aye or nay. You have to make sure that you are not voting with a conflict of interest, right? So if I was individually voting and I had, as an individual, decentralized voices votes assigned to me, I probably can't, or I shouldn't, vote aye on Novasama Technologies referenda because I work for them, right? So it's basically just transparency and reporting why you're voting aye, nay, or abstain. And the Decentralized Voices program right now, they rotate it every 3 months. So we have these dots until May currently. Then there'll be another round. And then after 3 months, another round and another round. And the goal is just to empower the community and find these voices that are good actors in the ecosystem that should be delegated dot by the actual community as well. Find other like-minded people that are passionate about Polkadot, that are not trying to scam people and all this kind of stuff. Get with them, make groups with them, make communities with them, maybe start a bounty for something that you guys are particularly passionate about. You don't even need to be like massively experienced. As long as you have the passion and the drive to do it, you can propose things and you can get like funding for it and stuff, right? If you're not a core developer, you can understand Polkadot at a high level, and you don't need to get worried about, for example, the jam paper's just come out. You don't need to get worried about the equations and stuff, right? You can understand it at a high level. I'm not very technical, for example. So when there is a referendum that is very technical, I cannot really review it properly. In the actual delegation system, what it was designed for is if I'm not technically minded, I can delegate to a core developer, for example. But in ChaosDAO, we have those core developers. We have fellowship members. We have parachain team members. So whenever there's something technical, I can be like, hey, Gabe from the fellowship, what's this about? Can you like explain it to me? Like, I'm 5. What is this? Why is it important? Should we spend this much money on it, for example? Should we actually enact this? So we can access these people with knowledge because they're part of this collective. So people just need to find something that they can do that promotes Polkadot in a positive manner, and don't be shy. Go, like, make a referendum and just explain what your vision is, what you want to do, who you're going to work with, how long it's going to take you to do it. You have to convince the token holders, your other fellow community members. And if the community likes it, then you're going to get funding. If they don't like it, you can always change some minor things, maybe reduce the cost or reduce the scope, and go again. And most times when that happens, people get funding the second time round. Alice and Bob, he has mentioned this quite a lot, that this is where he thinks the system is going to go, like political parties. A lot of people get a bit stressed out about that because they don't like real-life political parties. But it's very hard to define an agenda for these parties because each referendum is completely unique in its context. So you can't say this group is pro-marketing, because then there'll be a marketing referendum that's bad and you vote nay, and that's against your agenda. So it's really hard to actually assign an agenda or what your movement is about and codify it. I believe it's impossible to do, because if you're actually decentralized and have a massive group of people, I can't tell you what other people are going to think about a particular referendum, right? There's no central control over it. The main issue with like OpenGov, for example, is the frequency of referenda, right? The volume is too high for the average person, and they get a bit bogged down and a bit burnt out, let's say. So I think it's very clear that groups can vote on more things and take more things into consideration than individuals, because it's just impossible for one person to review everything. The next thing is there's some technical changes. I want to make OpenGov more liquid. Right now, I could delegate to you on the big spender track where you can spend up to $1 million, right? But if I disagree with one of your votes, I have to undelegate from the entire track. I would love to be able to delegate to you for everything, but then if there's a referendum I'm particularly passionate about and it comes to my attention and I disagree with how you're voting, I'd like to just change my vote on that one referendum, right? We've proposed that as ChaosDAO, and we're hoping that it's coming pretty soon, but just more liquid democracy. This is something that's coming up on the forum. People are starting to discuss this. Like, over the past 2 years, what have we spent on education? What have we spent on infrastructure? What have we spent on development of like the core protocol? These kind of things are being discussed right now because it probably does make sense to budget things. And then if you create a budget, you can be a little bit more flexible with like the bounty system. You can say, we pay $500,000 a year for block explorers. Well, instead of bogging everybody down with votes all the time for this, let's have one vote to assign some portion of funds to members of the community that can then, in the smaller group, review block explorer proposals and pay those teams out if they meet the criteria, right? And then that would reduce the decision-making overhead for the general community. I think that's a model we're going to go to, maybe, especially with budgeting like annual spends. Obviously, it would still be possible to go outside of it, but just trying to understand what runway we have left as the Treasury and what our expenses will be for next year. There's a lot of discussion about that on the forum right now. Whales have a lot to lose, right? They have the most tokens. So, and they're fully within their right to vote however they want. But at the end of the day, they have a big stake in the network, and a lot of decisions are not black and white issues, they're very subjective, and that's where I believe the community can get a bit disconnected from whales. So this is where I believe the concept of political parties comes in, where these parties should act in a way that allows them to get delegations from the community. The community's voice, if semi-coordinated, would be able to counter any whale attacks, right? Because there'll be whale A might have this agenda against Polkadot. Whale B probably doesn't, right? And then the community also doesn't. So the community plus, if needed, other friendly whales will be able to counteract these whales. And that was part of this Decentralized Voices program from Web3 Foundation, was to empower the community against whale voters, right? Until we get to the point where the community can organize itself better to not have to need that assistance. There's an interesting concept of, let's say you have somebody that lives in a not too economically developed country, and they have $100 in their savings, and all of it is in DOT, right? You could argue that they are 100% convicted in DOT. You could have a whale that has $100 million, but only $50 million is in DOT. So you could argue they're 50% committed or convicted in Polkadot. Which one's opinion matters the most? So in token holder-based governing, or token-based governance, you'd say, well, the whale obviously has the most say because they can vote the most. But is that correct? Because the guy that's really committed and probably spends a lot of his time trying to further Polkadot, but doesn't have that much money, well, his opinion really matters as well, because he's so committed and trying to better the network, right? And that's where ChaosDAO and these groups can help those kinds of people to get more of a voice, right? At Novasama Technologies, we don't compromise on user privacy and security, right? So other wallets in other ecosystems, they will track what you do within the app, right? And they will sell that data to their investors or other third parties, right? And that can lead to a lot of issues. Basically, you should not be tracking what people do. If you compromise on that, there is always a reality where something messes up and user funds can get stolen. So we have a really hard stance that we don't track anything, we don't sell any data to anybody, which can be bad because other wallets, for example, they need that data to be able to sell how good their wallet is to their investors. At Novasama Technologies, we don't have investors. We are fully funded by the Polkadot Treasury. We do run validators, but we don't take commission from people, right? We make money from running the validator. The Polkadot network gives you, tokens to run the node. We're funded by the community, so why would we double dip and take extra money from the people that have voted to give us funding? It doesn't make sense, right? It's a completely different business model to like every other wallet, and that is provided by the Polkadot ecosystem. The world is increasingly connected, and you shouldn't only be able to interact with people from your own country, right? There's people with skills and experience and knowledge from all over the world, and it's incredible that these Web3 technologies and Polkadot, it allows people from all across the world, from places that maybe traditionally wouldn't be best of friends with each other, and we can all collaborate on this entire system, be that the code of it, the marketing of it, chains building on top of it, applications on top of it. Everybody is contributing to it, and it's why it's the world's biggest DAO and the world's best DAO. Polkadot is completely borderless, right? And it is like, I can see a point with the network state, right? And we are getting there, and it's us that have to usher in this technology, right? We shouldn't wait for some government that doesn't even understand Web3 to adopt this system, right? We need to, I say this quite a lot, be the change you want to see, right? And we collectively, the Polkadot DAO, need to be the change that we want to see and usher in this technology to the masses. So it's a very strange feeling. When we first made ChaosDAO, we wouldn't have expected that we would be in this position, and sometimes be hated by a lot of people, which is very fun. Yeah, it's very, very strange. Like I said before, we got involved in governance in like a big way when Gav released his article about OpenGov, right? And even then, when we were discussing it, it was like, oh, is this really worth it? Are we going to be able to get delegations? All this kind of stuff, right? But it just shows that if you have an idea and it's solid, go for it. Because what we achieved, it's just people that are unpaid, that just love Polkadot, that just think of cool things and execute them. You don't need loads of funding to do stuff. Obviously, it's nice to be paid, but if it's something that you're passionate about, and most people in ChaosDAO, they maybe work in the Polkadot ecosystem or the Web3 space, and then their passion is Polkadot. So after they finish their job, they are still talking about Polkadot. They're still discussing ideas and stuff with other people in ChaosDAO and other groups, right? And that's the type of people that you want to empower and you want to get together. It's people with just raw, unbridled passion for Polkadot. Not people that are just in it for like a quick monetary gain, for example, right? It's people that actually care about this movement, about unstoppable software, self-sovereign assets, all this kind of stuff, right? It's a mindset of a particular group of people. It's this absolute paradigm shift in governance that is not seen anywhere else, and that is Polkadot governance.
It's demo time. So I'm going to open Telenova, and I'm going to send as a gift in Telegram. I'm going to select dot. Okay, so now you should have a message, right? So now you're going to press launch. What's awesome is if you just scan that, you can use it right now.